This
Apologies
conference
for
will now be recorded.
that. So what I would like to do first of all is introduce you to our Home Office colleagues, who is Adam and Kathy, and they're just going to take you through a little bit about who they are, what they do, and the impact that your service delivery has had and where we are in terms of centres open. I'm not sure who wants to start. Is it Adam or Kathy? Just unmute yourself, whoever wants to go first, and I'll pop the next slide on.
We work with external suppliers.
I can hear you now, Kathy. Sorry, I couldn't hear you a second ago.
Sorry, we'll get there in the end, won't we, Lewis? Right, hi everyone, my name's Kathy. I'm here today with my colleague Adam. So we work with external suppliers to ensure the smooth running of our front-end services used by UKVI customers, with Assisted Digital being one of those services. We just wanted to talk to you today really about the impact of the pandemic, what that's had on the Assisted Digital service over the last 12 months, just really to give you a sense of how fluid that situation has been. So since the start of the pandemic, Weir Digital and their service partners have endeavoured to provide assisted digital support to customers under tough circumstances. As a result of the coronavirus pandemic, face-to-face services were suspended for a time, but since June 2020, many centres have returned to the provision of the AD service, and engagement with the network is ongoing. During this time, outreach projects and also the production of customer case studies had to be put on hold. So I don't know if you can see, but what I've done is I've actually produced a graph of kind of timeline of events that shows the amount of centres that are open, the amount of closed, and then also unfortunately, as a result of the pandemic, we have had some centres also leave us during that time. So many centres have had to make changes to comply with the government guidelines by reconfiguring to accommodate social distancing and also completing risk assessments. This process has not been without its challenges. We certainly appreciate that we make the AD support. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, you've got a little bit of feedback, Kathy. It sounds like a projector of some kind or something in the background.
Right, let me continue. In order to ensure all customers can access assisted digital support, We Are Digital have been working hard with centres to reopen the wider centre network. To build momentum, we've set a number of milestone dates that correspond with the government's roadmap for easing COVID-19 restrictions. These dates, of course, are 12th of April, 17th of May, and the 21st of June. So firstly, on the 12th of April, after 4 months of lockdown measures, the reopening of additional centres face-to-face appointments got off to an encouraging start. As non-essential retail and public buildings open their doors again, the number of centres offering assisted digital support increased by 20% to 82 centres. Then from 17th of May, alongside further relaxations of restrictions on businesses and social contact, an additional 23 centres have now reopened, taking the current total to 105 centres. Now, at the moment, the home tutor service remains suspended, but this will also be returning shortly to customers for those who are unable to travel to a local centre.
Sorry,
now
Kathy,
at the moment,
bear with me one second. We're getting a lot of feedback. I don't know if it's from yourself or somebody else. If you're not talking at the minute, could you just please ensure you're muting your microphone so everyone can hear clearly as well? Sorry, Kathy, carry on.
Adam, do you maybe want to take over if there's feedback on my line?
Oh. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, can everybody hear Adam? I can see a couple of people in the chat saying they can't hear.
I think there was a little bit of feedback from another mobile, but I'll carry on. So yeah, as you can see, Kathy's produced the slide here on number 3. We've got the roadmap, which has been great, stating obviously the important dates. So I'll go through from the start. So we've got the 12th of April, after the initial 4 months of lockdown. Measures were put in place, and obviously the additional centres were then reopened for the face-to-face appointments, as we basically started allowing non-essential retail and public buildings to open, and the AD support centres increased to about 20% during that time, which was excellent. Moving on for the 17th of May, as we've seen currently, those sort of larger further relaxations of restrictions on businesses across the board and social contact, we saw that there was an increase of 23 centres that reopened during that time, which gave us a grand total of 105, which is marvellous, with hopefully the home tutor visits to return shortly over the upcoming weeks. And as we walk into the 21st of June, we're hopefully going to tie in with the end of these restrictions, a boost across the network, and increasing just that centre network across the board. Moving on to the next slide, and just obviously this goes from me, but this is from the Home Office. I know our ward colleagues have probably said this throughout the whole course, but it is just a massive thank you from all of us here over at the Home Office. Without a doubt, your perseverance and fortitude for all of these times has just been beyond vital, and just a massive help in keeping this service not only going, but obviously allowing those individuals and customers to get the service that they require and deserve. So it's just, again, echoing what WAD have said, but just a marvellously big thank you from me and the Home Office also. I'll go through the next slide, but I'll probably just go over it lightly as a cap, because I think a majority know the stats already, but just again, a big thank you and an appreciation of the amount of work that's gone into the EUSS scheme as a whole. We've got a total of 5.42 million applications that have gone through the Home Office via this route, which is obviously nearing to its end at the end of June. We're still in communications about the reasonable grounds for effectively the support around late submissions and provisions of support will effectively remain in place, as I know this was one of the questions that was picked up by the Centre Network and WAD. Furthering on from this month, we are keeping our WAD colleagues updated, but as you can imagine, there's quite a large amount of work that's going into place just to ensure we've got the correct amount of resource and support there to capture all of the applicants that are still yet to supply application. And that's pretty much it from us, guys. This is now obviously handing over to you, the network, for any questions or answers. And before we do get into it, if this isn't quite the format in which you wish to ask a question, feel free to send it over via an email to our WAD colleagues, and then we'll obviously pick it up at a later date. Thank you for your time.
Indeed, thank you very much, Adam, and Kathy as well. So yeah, we've just got a Q&A partway through this for now. For anyone who wants to ask any questions directly to the Home Office, we did ask anyone to send them informally ahead of time, but we didn't receive any. So if anyone has got any questions around the service, the impact of the service, please feel free. You can either type it in the chat now or ask away. If you could start by introducing yourself as well, if you talk, that would be greatly appreciated.
Just do we just ask, yeah, or did you want us to put a hand up or something?
No, Tara, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's my name's Tara, and I'm from an organisation called the Enterprise Centre in Dundee. My question is actually to do with having the centres being listed on the Home Office website. I think we did raise it in a few quarterly calls back, and I know it was to do with the opening hours, etc. But I think it would be really useful and to have the centres listed as well as We Are Digital, either shown as partners or services. Is there any plans to do that?
Hi Tara, thanks for your question. Did you say it was Enterprise in Dundee? Just to reaffirm,
Enterprise Secretariat.
Yeah, great. So it is something that we're going to look into. I know that we had, obviously pre-COVID measures, we had the postcode checker, which obviously allowed our customers to check the local centres and the support that was available through that route. But it is something we can look into. As you can imagine, the landscape over the last, number of months now has changed significantly. So it is definitely something that we can look into, whether it be a list or something a bit more, I guess, user-friendly for our customers. But yeah, great question and great little improvement.
Yeah, just one more thing to add on to that as well. I don't know if this is possible as well. Like We Are Digital know that I actually work with very vulnerable service users with low confidence and language barriers. If the We Are Digital phone number is given direct to them to phone, they're very hesitant to call. What they'll end up doing is either they're calling me as myself on my mobile, or they'll just walk into the centre. So it's actually majority of the times myself that's actually making an appointment with the caller online, or the actual caller sitting in the room. But with COVID restrictions, it's been very difficult to have, pass the phone over, etc., as you can imagine. So again, I don't know if this is another improvement, maybe to have the centre as well as the centre's number. But we do understand once the person calls the centre's number, yes, we need to speak to We Are Digital at the same time, to book it in, either a three-way call. I've actually been doing a three-way call, a conference call with my client on the phone, as well as We Are Digital, or having them sat distant in the same room. Just another suggestion.
Yeah, so as with this one and any others that are upcoming, we'll be taking notes of these, and if it is something we can pick up with WOD at a later date and implicate, then obviously all the improvements we will obviously try and implement them as soon as possible, but we'll certainly take note of it and see what we can arrange now that we're coming out of the lockdown measurements and everything around it.
Thank you for that question, Tara. There's a few that have just gone in chat, so I'll read these out for everyone's benefit. Martin C has asked, can the Home Office give assurance that if anyone receives a UAN number, that means that application has definitely been received?
So the assurance is that UAN, I won't go into obviously the details of the application routes, but yes, that means that they've gone through Access UK, and that's what's produced. It's the unique number that comes back from all of the Home Office routes across the board, across the whole of UKVI. So if they've got that to hand, that means it's been the application has been not only received, but it's also been processed through their system. Okay, and just to add on to that as well, that includes all of the that includes all of the further sort of partners and linking of it for other previous applications are all linked together.
Following that question, my name is Sławek from Polish Family Association. So if the application is submitted before the deadline, but the outcome will actually be received after the deadline, what would be the status of that person?
That's not really something I could cover. So as much as I've got knowledge of the operations and the routes, it isn't afraid something that I can lightly discuss over the phone. It's a different unit to where I'm currently placed, I'm afraid.
For that one, Adam, is that something we can take away? if you can come back to us and we can share that response with the network at a later date once you've got the clarification.
Yeah, I think same with all of any further questions. We'll hopefully try and get these collated, and if there are follow-up questions or answers coming from ourselves, we'll work with WAD to get those distributed across the WAD.
Okay. My name's John from North Manchester Community Partnerships. Now we've been getting a lot of inquiries about there's a rumour going around about the residence cards expiry dates, and there's a masses of confusion whether people need to reapply or they don't need to reapply. I mean, I don't know if you can clarify. I mean, I've had some clarification off WAD this week that the people what have just received like a residence card maybe over the last 12 months that they're okay. But I know there's a lot of confusion around that. I know there's a lot of miscommunication on social media. I don't know, Free Movement have been sending out that everyone has to get renewed. Have you been finding other like inquiries from other people about
that? We haven't, but I can definitely pick this one up because I know that there was some of the headline dates is that you needed to, or if you applied for a UK residence card before the 1st of Jan, then the decision would be basically supplied within the first 6 months. So they're obviously going through that, and also part of that is the EEA biometric residence cards, and they'll be supplying further info on that. Again, this is surrounding the EUSS part.
That's right. I mean, we've had people in, and some of them have actually had expiry dates of 30th of June. Some have had expiry dates a couple of months into this year, but then some have got expiry dates to 2024, which I'm assuming that's kind of that's when they have to apply for the settled status after that, isn't it? So
it is, yeah. And my operations colleagues, as you can imagine, there's a few things in our home office, but it is something that they'll be proactively, reaching out to these customers. And all we can do, and what we do anyway, is give assurance to WAD and picking up these little nuanced questions to make sure you guys, the face-to-face with customers, have the correct amount of information to hand to help you guys with these questions.
Okay, thank you. Cheers for that. Thank you.
Not at all.
Thanks very much, John. Next, I've got a question in from Fahim, and he asks, is there any plan to extend the deadline for EUSS applications, as there are still many people to apply? I know we've kind of touched on this, Adam, but if you want to go over that one.
Yeah, so it is indeed. Effectively, it's a hard stop on the application dates, but there is going to be further support away from that 1st of June, but we're going to go and work with our colleagues just to make sure that we've got the right amounts of resource in line, but there's going to be continuing amounts of provisions of support throughout the next couple of months, but we'll work with WAD and keep them updated, informed what those months are likely to be.
So just as a summary there, what we're saying is the process will continue for up until September. It's just a question of what capacity currently, with a further update to come in due course.
So the application itself, it's a hard stop on the 30th of June. There will be a number of months after that, and that's which is still being discussed internally. That will be able to obviously keep that provision of support still ongoing, and we'll keep closer to the date. We'll keep WAD and indeed the centre network informed. It could be September, but yes, we'll obviously keep you guys updated.
Thank you very much. I've got another question in from Martin, who asks, why are there so many occasions on which a valid national insurance number doesn't produce enough information in the application process?
A valid insurance number? Is this through the EUSS route or just in general?
He hasn't stated. Martin, are you able to type or speak?
It's the national insurance number. Because the client is asked to produce and submit their national insurance number, for some reason it comes back saying we can't find enough information.
Okay. I mean, I've heard a few questions in my time, but that's an interesting one. I mean, I can pick it up with our ops colleagues, but it's actually HMRC that hold that information. And I know there's a couple of nuances between HMRC and the Home Office. I can certainly ask my Home Office ops colleagues to see if they've come across that slight issue, but it is HMRC that own the data of the national insurance card. Do you know if it's a specific route at all, or is it just you've noticed it a couple of times with customers?
I've noticed it on more than a couple of occasions where we put in with the customer put in their national insurance number, and then when you go through the process, it said, sorry, we can't find enough information about you. You may have to provide some more documentation. And I don't know why that should be when we're talking about people who have, been here receiving pensions, all sorts of things. They're definitely in the system.
That's just definitely an interesting one. I'll be more than happy to do a little bit of digging with my ops colleagues. I know that I'll have a little dig around and see if I can sort of collate some form of response to it and see if we can work with our HMRC colleagues to see if there's anything further we can give guidance on.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, it's Dave Tyndale from Changing Step North East. Sorry,
apologies. One second, Dave. Just whilst we're still on that subject there, Martin, just a quick question. Are you finding this is with one form of application? Like, for example, is it constantly the settlement scheme, or is it something different?
It's the settlement scheme. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it is the settlement scheme. Right. Sorry, I think I did ask it, but it might have been my mobile. Let me look into that one. If it's strictly within the EOSS, it might be, I'll have a look and see if I can discuss, see if there's a slight issue, a tech fault or something that isn't completely obvious. But thanks for your question.
Cool, thanks. David, I believe you wanted to speak just then. Apologies for interrupting.
Yeah. Are you okay? Yeah, from what Martin mentioned, I've had this issue with my own national insurance number, and where Martin mentioned about people being in the country for a long time, contributing to pensions and everything. With mine, a good few years ago, somebody lost a CD with loads of people's details on, and when I try and do anything through the business or my personal stuff, I've got to get in touch with Preston HMRC because it comes under an anti-fraud thing where some people's data was lost ages ago. I'm not saying that's what it is, but normally if I phone up about something and give my national insurance number, the amount of times I get asked, can you repeat it? Can you repeat it? Can you repeat it? We can't find you. So it could be something down those lines where they've been placed under the anti-fraud protection thing with HMRC over at Preston.
Yeah, it could well be. Like I said, it's HMRC that deal with and own obviously the data behind national insurance numbers, and I can see why they've put in that anti-fraud if you're suggesting that yours was lost or something, a CD was lost previously that held yours within that data, then I can see why they put it under the anti-fraud. But it could be one of those interesting things between tech and the application, but I can certainly follow it up with EOSS colleagues and to see if there's any response or any further guidance we can help you guys with.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. It's Amanda. I can do that down in Torquay. It's my understanding, and I might be wrong, that by putting the national insurance number in, it's looking for a taxable work history. So if the person's on pensions and stuff, although that should affiliate with the national insurance number, I think it's looking for 5 years worth of taxable work history. I might be wrong, but that might be what's going on.
That's probably more information than I know, if it is that way. then that's certainly, again, I can pick that up and get further information on it.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. Martin has also asked, how many of the 5.42 million applications have yet to be processed or approved?
So I think, if I remember rightly, we're still over 5 million that has been processed. So I've actually gone through the route.
Okay. Amir Ahmed, your question, I believe, has been answered verbally, so I'll skip that for now, but if you missed it, please do type in the chat and we can revisit that one. Amanda has asked, if there is a valid reason for applications after the deadline, will that person lose benefit payments or will they continue? Is that one to be picked up? And
yeah, again, with that, going back to, and I'm afraid it couldn't be more helpful, the response that we have at the moment, but as you can imagine, we've got a number of cohorts to work with, and what we want to do is just ensure, again, we've just got that support and the provisions of the support in place within the month following the deadline, and those sort of questions, nuances will come back with a block narrative that will hopefully be able to answer these little questions and queries. But I do note the time, and it is obviously the end of next month, so it is something that we are working on continuously to try and provide this extra bit of guidance for you guys, you know, to help you out with the customers.
Can I ask another question, please?
Yep, go ahead.
I just noticed the word paper application, and I just brought a scenario to my mind. I have actually had this in the past, where I've actually had two members of the same family that were able to apply online, so digital, I managed to help them. And the third application was I had to actually phone up and order a paper application for the little child because the child didn't have access to a Polish passport, and the father was basically not allowing her to have a Polish passport, so it needed to be an application. Now, are we able to provide that support? I know obviously it's like we are digital, but because we've helped that family, are we actually able to apply, are we able to help that child from that family and then put that through appointment through We Are Digital?
I think that's one for you, Lewis, isn't it?
From my perspective, and I may be speaking out of turn, so we probably do need to confer on this offline, Adam, and come back to Tara with a definitive answer. But I don't see an issue with providing support. But of course, I would need to look at the real detail and just get a clarification for that.
Okay, that's fine. I can get in touch with you on that one. That'll be great, Lewis, if you can. And just one more before I finish my questions. I've actually got another a different application that I've never come across. I've actually got a child that's in hospital and the child needs to go for biometrics. I've spoken to EU Res team and we've managed to get a photo that was fine, but they've come back saying you need to go for biometrics. Now, the child can't leave the hospital because they're waiting for a donor, and the family's just, like, as you can imagine, very worried, and she's the only one that's not got the EU application in, but we'll have this application. But is there a team that we can actually speak to? I have spoken to EU Res and they said, oh, we'll put it through to someone and get back to you, but I've not heard anything, and I've had the family phoning basically, you know, every other day.
So Tara, I think on this one, if you want to collect the information about that specific customer, and if you want to pop that across to Lewis and his team whenever you can, Lewis will obviously pick that up offline. And we'll see what we can organise internally, Tara, if that helps.
Perfectly, yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much. That's all, thank you.
Thanks, Tara, no worries there. Yeah, if you've got that to hand, do feel free to send that over as soon as possible, and I can forward that on so we can get that the attention it needs, of course. Next on the list, Altaf has asked, a Spanish citizen has approached us. He has applied for pre-settlement. He wants to apply for settled status, but his Spanish passport has since run out.
The guidance is online for that one. The nuance is quite tricky. But yeah, it should be all on gov.uk, and especially being a Spanish resident, there'll be specific lines on who they can contact and effectively what their next steps are.
Cool, thank you very much for that one. Esau College in Luton has asked, we're having a lot of queries regarding the expiration dates of BPRS. What is it an individual needs to do to renew? And also, it's very difficult for them to get appointments with UK VCAS.
The appointments should be functional, and they should be available, and they have been for a number of months now, to help with obviously everyone getting back to normal working standards. So it might be one just to revisit recently, and just to ensure that it should be a lot easier to get that going, really.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Just so everyone's aware, I'm conscious of the time because there's still quite a few more questions to get through. So if you have some, do pop them in the chat. And Adam, if there's a question that needs to be taken away, just say so. And what we'll do is reply to the centres in writing once we've got the answers to all the questions collated. I'm just thinking in the interests of getting through the rest of what we have left.
Absolutely, yeah.
So next question we've got is from Armin. Apologies, Armin, I'm not even going to attempt your surname. But we've got, for paper applications, what counts as the date of application? The date completed the form is received, or the date the paper form is requested? As some people may realise they need to apply a few days before the deadline and request the paper from then, but not receive it until after the deadline. Appreciate this might be a question for another department, but we'd be grateful if you could take this to them.
Yeah, it is for another department. I know and have knowledge on different routes within the Home Office, but it's something that I'll just cross-reference just to ensure, because believe it or not, it is different within the Home Office depending on which route, which doesn't help, but I can come back and confirm at a later date on that one.
Fahim asks, we have lots of issues with the documents to prove EUSS applicants being here before the 31st of December last year. Is there any guideline for this? I'm going to hazard a guess and say it should be on gov.uk. Is that correct, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the documentation, it will be there, and then equally so, it's all outlaid. That's pretty much my advice, is just having a pop onto gov.uk, just ensure there's the entire guide there that you can print off and walk through. So it should be within those lines.
And just to clarify as well here, for the network, we do have the links directly to the applicable insights on our website in the centres area, so you can jump on there to get the direct link, but we can include it in our correspondence as a result of this meeting as well. Caroline Boyce has asked, my organisation in Cornwall has not yet received referrals, but people approach us all the time and we are worried many are falling through the net. That's one I can take, Caroline. For that, if you've got anyone who's approaching you and it appears they have an AD need, you can give them our number or call on their behalf with them present, whichever works for yourself. And we can triage them to determine their eligibility, assuming they're eligible. And of course, you have gone through all our checks, which I believe you have if you're on this call. We can simply book them in with you to ensure they get that support.
Cheers, Lewis.
No worries. Amanda's comment was just regarding the national insurance numbers. We can skip over that one. Anita Sharp asks, are you going to update the app to enable it to read the new improved chips in passport? We have noticed, for example, every Polish passport issued in 2021 has a chip that is unrecognized by the app.
That's a very good question. It's not my unit, but it's certainly something I can filter in. I'm sure they are working on it continuously behind the scenes to ensure that new passports are captured in the way that they should, but yeah, I will absolutely field that to the correct team. Thanks for that question.
Not so much a question, but John has commented that getting a UKV VCAS appointment usually requires checking early in the morning, and there's some difficulty he cites, particularly in Manchester. Alicia Abba says she also has some clients who need to apply through paper application. Can or will they be accepted by We Are Digital? So the purpose of our service is to provide the digital support. If a claimant absolutely does need a paper application, there is a process where we can send them one. But in terms of providing support with that, it's not something We Are Digital generally does. Our support is purely around making the digital application. Of course, we don't want to see anybody left behind. So for anyone who does need a paper process, a paper application, or is insistent on a paper application, we do have a process whereby we notify the Home Office and the paper application is sent to that individual directly. And I think that is all of the questions. Amir's commented there. He said passports. Not passports. So he's commented the app doesn't recognize IDs. Clients are having to send over their IDs as a requirement when they have a valid ID. He's had this on 3 separate occasions. So this is related to, I believe, EUSS applications and verifying. Sounds like it's tied into the chips, Adam.
Yeah, so I'll pick that up. Obviously, it's not within my unit, but it's something I can definitely reach out, see if they've got any issues. I know when we had that recent upgrade of the iPhones, there was some issues in terms of what they were able to scan across. But yeah, we'll look into basically the information that's been updated behind the scenes, and I'll reach that back to Wad.
Thank you very much. And the last question I can see here from Altaf. And guys, if you do have any more questions, please do email them in. It's useful to get them beforehand, so the Home Office guys can check internally and of course have the answers ready for these meetings. But I can see here that Altaf has asked, there's a rumor going around that people have to apply for settled status before the end of June, or is pre-settled status enough?
I think that is one to, first instance, just check the guidance on gov.uk. And then secondly, it's something that I can reaffirm and come back to Wad with some lines, some confirmed lines on that, just to make sure that just to make sure it's clear.
Thanks, Adam. I'm sorry, another question has just popped in there. How do we deal with those who are unaware of these services? They are being left behind due to language barriers. And this is from Empowering Education in Luton.
Well, I mean, this is part for Lewis, but there are language options there. If we feel as though it's within over the phone help, there's options there that could be supportive through all of our applicants. And then also the material provided, there's options there also in different languages, whether it be specific routes or indeed just the general AD service help. There's a couple of things that we've got currently live and working on as well with our supplier Wad, and I'll pass it over to Lewis.
Yeah, just to basically reaffirm what you've just said there, Adam. There is some scope there for us to provide support via 3-way conversations. We've never really seen the demand for it, so it hasn't been utilised to date, but that can be across a number of languages. Of course, providing an individual is eligible for assisted digital support and requires either translation services over the phone, that is, via a 3-way call. There is scope for that, it's quite difficult to set up, of course, because it relies on the availability of the centre, the individual, and the service all being available at the same time. So there's a little bit of legwork to make that work, but it is something we can do. That concludes all of the questions for now. So as I've said, if you do have any more questions for the Home Office, please do email them into us, and we can also forward them on. And what we will do is, once we've got the answers collated, between now and the next quarterly meeting, we will send back the answers to these questions and any further input that we've got for you guys in that regard. With that being said, Adam, I'd like to thank yourself and Kathy for attending.
I'm sorry.
No. Sorry, I think somebody just tried to speak then but got cut off.
Yeah, that's me, Gifty Thomas Ekwe from the Race Equality Center. I'm just logging in. I was with clients. I'm wondering whether I will have access to the recording of this session if it was recorded at all.
It is being recorded, Gifty, so that is something we can provide. So,
all right, thank you.
Adam and Kathy, with regards to our Home Office colleagues, I'd like to thank you both for attending. I don't know if you want to just say a quick thanks and goodbye.
Hello, everyone.
See you again.
Oh, sorry guys, you were both muted there.
Yeah, it's just to say a quick thank you from us again for all your fortitude through the last several months, and look forward to picking up these conversations again soon. Thank you again.
Cheers, it's much appreciated, and thank you for taking the time to attend today. I'm sure the centre guys appreciate that, and we'll look forward to responses to those questions as well.
Great stuff. Thanks.
Okay. Let's just sort that. There we go. So that's the Home Office colleagues, guys. And as I say, what we will do is collate all of their questions and get them out to get the responses out to yourselves as well. There was a few more things we wanted to pick up with you guys and just go through. Some of it is a repetition from our previous quarterly corner. Some of it is just updates and some refinements we've made to the service. Historically, I know we asked about case studies, and of course we've put that on hold because of COVID and the pandemic and the work we've had to put in and the structures we've had to put in place to make sure everybody's COVID secure so they can provide support. But one thing we really are keen to do is to make people aware of the work you do and the impact you have when you're providing this support. And the best way we can do that is through case studies, be it video case studies or just written case studies. So what we would really love to hear from you guys is if you're aware of any particular instances of any individuals who you've supported who, as a result of your support, have gained their status, gone on to get a job and made a real success of themselves, or even from your perspective as a centre, the impact that you're having in your community from the amount of people you're helping. We would be really, really keen to hear from you and to have a conversation with you around that so we can capture it, document it, possibly even interview you to put that on our marketing material and to share directly with the Home Office. So we're really selling the success of the project and the wins that we've got in place. I'm sure you've all got Cohen's email address and the centre's inbox email address. what I'd love is just to, I mean, we don't need detail in email, but if you have such examples, just drop Cohen an email and say, you know, I've got some success stories I would like to share, and we can pick that up with you individually and take the next steps there. What we will do is work with our marketing department and really try to go all out and sell what you're doing and make people aware of the support you're providing. Hopefully you'll be able to use these materials in your local communities as well, wherever applicable, and just really, you know, shout about what it is we're doing here and the impact that that's having. So if you could have a think about that and get in touch with us via the centres inbox, that would be really useful. Fahim, it's the centres, the email address, I can see people asking in the chat, is centres@wearedigital.co.uk. Everybody on should have had some correspondence from that email inbox and be familiar with that. But if not, we'll include it in our minutes and our follow-up from this call. I also wanted to share some good news feedback from our QA observations. So I'm sure many of you will be aware, as part of our process with the Home Office, we have to conduct observations of yourself, just to ensure, of course, the quality that we're aiming for is there and present. And by and large, everybody who we've assessed, and unfortunately I don't have the figures in front of me, but everyone we've assessed, generally speaking, has been exceptionally well. There are some processes that haven't been followed. Of course, we've addressed those with the partners individually as and when we've observed them. And there's 2 technical fails due to incomplete surveys. So some of you may know, payment is contingent on a survey. So if you're providing support and don't complete the survey, we have no way to verify that your support was delivered. So it's just a small reminder there to ensure you do complete the surveys. It saves yourselves having to query it with us, and it saves us having to reach out to the individual directly and collating that support was indeed provided. So do ensure when you provide support that those surveys are filled out. On the last quarterly call, some of our partners shared frustration with the process of booking individuals and the obstacles that presents on occasions. We did feed this back to our contact center team, and our team leaders have been working to address this, ensuring our agents are courteous and concise as possibly can be to minimize the time it takes for you to call with somebody present. However, the case does remain that we do need to speak to the individual because we have to verify their eligibility for the service. So if it is easier for yourself, and I appreciate in some cases, such as the one that Tara gave earlier, for example, that you may need to be present for the individual. So where possible, our8agents will be as quick as possible. I believe some of you have already seen the results of that as well. Regarding the referral process over the fact we've covered that. That one's fine. I was supposed to delete that slide. With regards to invoicing, again, this is more of a reminder. At the end of every month, our system automatically sends out a statement of all the records that you've completed in the month prior. So for example, at the start of February, it will send out a statement detailing all the work completed for January. Tying into that, of course, if you don't complete the survey, we don't have that record. But to ensure a swift payment and ensure you guys are paid as soon as possible, the best thing you can do is review the statement. An example one is attached. An example one should be on your screen now. Is to review that, check it's accurate, and assuming it is, which I believe it is in 99% of cases, log into our system, and the links are provided in the invoicing template, which is now on your screen, and confirm that you're happy with the statement. Once that's confirmed, our accounts team can make that payment very, very quickly. Of course, if there's a disagreement or something that needs to be clarified, if you log that within our system, our our administration guys can pick that up and resolve it. It may, of course, take a day or two to resolve, because in order to resolve, we have to reach out to the individual and get hold of them. At that point, I can see Tara has a question there. If you want to fire away, Tara.
Sorry, it's just me again. Couple of things. First of all, you know, when the survey is, when we're actually doing the survey, or when the client's doing the survey, does the name actually have to match what is being booked under, or the actual name that's actually been, the EUSS has been done in? Because sometimes what I find is that the name it's been booked under is just like a little bit of a spelling mistake.
Yeah, if there's a small spelling mistake, do use the individual's correct name.
Correct name.
Yeah.
One more thing was, you just mentioned when you submit it that you get the payment. Do we not need to send you a further invoice?
Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you for clarifying
All
that.
right.
Yes.
Okay, no, that's fine. I thought I was just doing some extra work on my side. I thought, oh, what am I doing?
No,
Okay.
you do have to send us an invoice. That's a legal requirement. We did want to be able to pay people as soon as they confirmed, but by law, we have to have an invoice for all sorts of tax reasons and what have you. So yes, the confirmation that we send out, it's just in effect to save you guys doing as much legwork as we can. So the system automatically sends it out, and of course, if you're happy with it, you can confirm you're happy with it. The invoice goes into our accounts team, and our accounts team then check the two, and assuming they match, the accounts team know the reconciliation is fine and they can pay it out quickly. But yes, an invoice absolutely has to come in.
Sualu?
Slawik, you had a quick question?
Sure.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick one. What will happen with the cancellations? Because in the recent weeks we had loads of cancellations. People just don't turn up to the appointments, and because most of them were related to visas, we like a whole day.
No, I can certainly appreciate that frustration. It's one I would have liked you guys to have raised whilst the Home Office were present, actually. But what I can say is I have fed back the frustration with cancellations to the Home Office, and they asked me to do some work to determine the rate of those cancellations. And what we are finding is the rate is 1 in 5 currently, which, whilst it's low, it's still low in general. That is, I think it's still quite an ask for our network to have a fifth of their bookings not show up or cancel.
I mean, for us this month, we had like probably 20 bookings, because we are booked just for Mondays. And out of those 20, we had like 15 cancellations. So it is significant number, and yeah, some of those cancellations were repeated. So say, for example, we had the appointment on the 1st of May. The person didn't show up. The next meeting, the next appointment was on the 7th of May, and the person again didn't show up.
Yeah, if what you can do here for me, Slawik, I think this would be helpful. Could you email this in to me, because I can use it as an example to show to the Home Office.
Okay.
What I'm saying, so the Home Office position on this is that We Are Digital do as much as we can to mitigate in the first instance. So what we do is, for every booking we make, the individual receives an email confirmation from us. They receive an automated text message, and 24 hours before the appointment, they receive a reminder message which asks them to let us know if they can't attend, and then we communicate that back to yourselves. Of course, the issue is that they may not, and we find they often don't let us know. They simply don't show up, which of course is a frustration for everybody involved. So what we're saying to the Home Office is we have and we do try to mitigate as much as we can, but we still have this issue. And I think your email may go a long way to evidencing that. And of course, I welcome any emails of a similar fashion from our network, where we can point this out to the Home Office, and that would go hand in hand with the evidence I've given them of the average dropout rate being 1 in 5, because I do think it's something we need to pick up and address for sure. So if you could pop that in, that would be super useful.
Do we have your email address, or it's just the centers again?
Yeah, if you send it into the centers, that will get forwarded on to me.
All right. Okay, cheers. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much. And next on my list.
Sorry, Lewis, I know I know we're running a little bit over, but can I just ask a question just on the mitigating circumstances? Sorry, not the show, not the cancellations, etc. You know how you said that you send a text message to the mobile number of the client. Now, is there I mean, what we do is, I mentioned on the last call, is we actually call the clients ourselves before they're due to come in the day before, just confirming where we are, who we are, etc. Is there a way that we can actually request maybe not to send a text message? I mean, I'm probably the opposite, because my service users get confused when they look at We Are Digital and then they start phoning me, oh my God, I've received this text message. And I'm like, no, it's fine. That's just still for myself. Is there a way that we can actually say on the call, yes, send them an email, but please don't send them a message, because I will do that myself, or I will ring them?
Difficult to answer, because whilst that might be ideal for yourself, it might not be ideal for our entire network across the UK, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Possibly something we can take offline and have a look.
Yeah, it's only for some clients that I might just say, okay, please don't try. I don't know if they do it, if the callers, the advisors do it individually or not, or how does the system work? I'm not sure. So it's maybe something you can take away.
Yeah, it's all entirely automated, so it's
right.
Putting exceptions in is easier said than done, if you get what I mean.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you.
No worries. I'm just conscious of the time, so I'm just going to go through the last couple of slides very, very quickly. For everyone on the call, you may or may not be aware that we also provide the Windrush compensation scheme on behalf of the Home Office. That has been launched in March, and I'm sure most people on here will be familiar with the press coverage around Windrush and the impacts that's had on the lives of the individuals who've been affected by their inability to prove their status. Our project went live 1st of March. So far, we've helped, I think, 70 or 80 people. I think there's 70 or 80 who are going through the process, 10 of which have already had their results and received compensation in excess of £10,000, likely to be higher. Support for this service is up to 3 hours long. And as you can see on our screen, we do have some gaps in our network where we would be looking to onboard centres. The Home Office have identified there is some demand in the circled areas on your screen. So if you are a centre in that area and would like to get involved in the Windrush project, we would certainly like to hear from you. Of course, there's a comprehensive training to go through in order to deliver, but in principle, the ideal is the same. We make an appointment in your calendar, we book an individual in, and you provide the support to the individual to help them fill out the form, and then we simply send it into the Home Office. So if anyone is interested in that, again, do get in touch with the centre's inbox, particularly if you're in these circled areas, Newcastle, Stockton, Peterborough, Cambridge, Swindon, Oxford, Bristol, Southampton, Portsmouth, other big ones. But we also would welcome centres from the Norwich and Ipswich areas as well. Then please do get in touch. Thank you very much. And last but not least is any other business. Another date to pop in your diary for now, and it will likely be the same time, is the next quarterly conference will be the 25th of August, and that will be probably at 1 o'clock. I don't have my diary in front of me to check for sure. It's likely the Home Office will join us on that call again and feedback verbally any questions that have been raised today. And with that being said, I would also like to just open it up to any other business or questions that you would like to raise that has not yet been covered.
This is Gifty again. When we did the the assessment, they had promised that they would make the report available to us. I've been waiting. I haven't received it. I'm wondering whether that is still the case.
Sorry, Gifty, which assessment are you referring to?
I'm talking about the quality assessment.
I would have to check that internally. Other than confirming you've passed with flying colours or not, I don't think we actually share it in full, but I can check that with our internal guys and feedback to you accordingly.
All right, thank you.
No worries at all.
Yeah, hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, who's talking?
Patrick,
Hi, Patrick, what centre are you from?
Colchester, Fresh Beginnings.
How you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm sorry I came late. I'm from another community meeting with the council. In terms of invoicing, so if we don't confirm by invoicing you, not any payment will be made or will be done.
That's correct. If you don't send us an invoice, we can't pay it because we've not received it.
Yeah, and the last one is also two more. If we are out of the circle in terms of wind crash compensations, that you very well, what can we do if we are out of the circle? Like Colchester is not part of it.
If you wish to get involved with Wimrush, we would certainly welcome that. So that the onboarding process would be something similar to what exists currently. The caveat we have with Wimrush is, of course, the number of claimants is far smaller than it would be for AD. So we try to minimize or maximize the work a centre may get by only having one centre in an area. Thereby ensuring all the traffic goes to that centre, which of course also improves the quality of the application. So if you're in an area where we don't have a centre, we would certainly welcome your support. And if you're in an area where we do have a centre, but you can offer alternative days and times, we would also welcome support there. So if you have an interest, just drop an email into our inbox and our admin team will get back in touch and discuss that in more detail with you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm interested. I will send the email. In terms of those who are a European family and the extension of time, sometime you may find yourself in the middle of the session and stopping calling you. I've been calling several times for the extension of time because you need to come out from the home office system for additional information, like to upload. Have you solved that issues? Because most of the time I always face difficulties.
Unfortunately, we haven't solved that issue. I appreciate the difficulty you guys mentioned there. If I'm trying, yeah, if you're encountering this fairly frequently, what we would welcome here is feedback. So I'm making this up, but let's say, for example, every time you submit an EUSS claim, it actually takes 10 minutes longer because you're in a waiting queue that the Home Office have to process. If you can clearly evidence that to us, we can take that to the Home Office and say, look, this is happening. You know, we need to either acknowledge that centres are having to take this time and remunerate them accordingly, and that would go some way to evidencing that you need more time, if you get what I mean. And the consensus, I hope, would be at that point that we would increase the session length. Of course, on the counterbalance to that, we are aware that a lot of our EUSS sessions, the majority in fact, are done well within 45 minutes. So often the Home Office will take us to task and ask us to evidence the example as and when they arise. So if you can detail those and feed it back to us, that's when we can make headway. So I appreciate that may mean more work for you in the short time, but in the long term, it's probably to your benefit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, the last one is, well, that is thank you to the Home Office. Sometimes they phone me for additional information before they need to respond to reply to the customer and to my service users. Sometimes they can call me directly, and then I can provide some of the things. So the point here is, one of my customer phoned you to rebook to come and to see me because he's been phoning for several times. As Home Office keep asking more evidences. So always when he phone and you send him to the library, and you know, the service user they use by the service, they trust more the center where they've been going on. For them to go to the library, for instance, it will be like a new case with the pandemic situations, and they don't feel, I don't know, everyone is not used by the library. They feel more comfortable to come to us. What do you say about that thing?
It's difficult for me to comment on because, of course, I'm not familiar with the case. But if an individual is being supported by a center, generally speaking, we would send the individual to the same center. Of course, if the individual says to us that they want to attend a particular center, we would, of course, book them in at that particular center as well. But by default, our system automatically picks the closest center. So in, let's say, a scenario where an individual is called up, if they're not making clear that they want to revisit your center, for example, the system doesn't immediately pick that up. So I would suggest that they make clear that it's yourself they want to come and visit, that they're following up from a previous claim, and then we can link the two in the system.
Okay, because it's yesterday Home Office phoned me about the family. Then I asked the family before to come here to phone you. By phoning you there, and I don't know, as you said, maybe on the system come automatically, and they phoned me back, said no.
When you say the Home Office are phoning, do you mean
Yes.
it's the Home Office, or do you mean it's We Are Digital?
No, Home Office. Home Office phoned me directly, specifically about the client who have been supporting and asking to help them to provide more information, but they confirm also by email to the family. Because you know, when we fill the forms, who helps kind of things, all my details are there. The center.
Could you send in that example, because that something doesn't sound right there. The Home Office shouldn't be contacting you. I appreciate.
I always write down and they phone me and they explain and I provide additional information.
Yeah, so, if you can send those examples in, we can pick that up and look at that offline.
No problem. That's how I will do that.
Okay, great stuff. Yeah, possibly as Tara mentions there, but yeah, do send that in so we can have a look at that, because they should be contacting the client directly for further information.
They consent. They make a consent to be contacted. Some of them, the English problem. Some of them, they have issues of the phone. That could be the reason, probably, I think.
Yeah. If you send them in, that's something we can look at for sure.
Yeah, my concern was for my client phone me is We Are Digital. Send them to the library, intend to send them back to me here. That's the concern I had yesterday.
Yeah, as I said, if the individual can just make clear. So if, for example, as we touched on at the start, we have a lot of our network now starting to reopen as we come out of the pandemic. So if there's a center closer to the individual that is now open that wasn't previously open, the system would automatically pick that center, if you get what I mean. So that's likely the reason.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand. Right. That could be the reason. Yeah. Thank you very much, Luis.
No worries. You're welcome. Any more questions from anybody?
My question's in chat, Lewis, if you want to, or do you want me to just say it?
If you could, yeah, I think I've missed it. So.
Sorry. What it is, you know, the digital support, is it actually provided to the named applicant, or is it actually provided to the person that's completing the form online? I'll give you the scenario. I get a few inquiries that want to apply for a family permit for someone that's not in UK, but they're obviously not computer literate there. So this person that is in UK, they want to apply for the family permit on the person that's not in UK on behalf of them. But the person completing the form online is who would come to see me. Would that support be provided?
Oh, that's a bit of a grey area. Yeah. I'll have to come back to you on that, Tara. Strictly speaking, and I will double check this, but strictly speaking, the individual filling out the form, if they're filling it out on behalf of somebody else, that person should also be in the UK. So I'll have to double check that exact scenario and come back to you. That what I'm saying there is in general, but of course there's always exceptions to every rule.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. That looks like it's concluded all the questions. As I said, if you do have any questions that you forget or have any further questions for the Home Office, do send them into the Centre's inbox, and in the next 3 or 4 weeks, depending on how quick the Home Office get back to us, we will send out some minutes and the recording of this call and share that with you guys. I'd like to thank you all again for the work you've done in making yourselves available throughout the pandemic and reopening, particularly with our COVID risk assessments and being COVID secure. That's very much appreciated. So thank you very, very much, and I will speak to you again soon, and no doubt you will have dialogue with Cohen before you speak to me again.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Louis, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.